My first rental was a brand new house. I wanted to make sure I did not run into any maintenance related issues. So I was like, let's get a brand new house. That way I don't have to deal with the tenants and it would be smooth sailing. Plus, a brand new house usually comes with a 1 year workmanship warranty. And that was my thought process for getting a brand new house. It was Memorial Day and I was at home with my family. The phone rang and of course it was the tenant. Apparently, the dryer had stopped working. I had the tenant go to the garage and look at the breakers. And as it turns out, one of the breakers was bad and it needed replacement. Since the house was brand new and it had 1 year workmanship warranty, I put in a request to change the circuit breaker. And the earliest slot that the builder could give me was 2 weeks out. I told the tenant that it would be at least 2 weeks until the circuit breaker could be replaced. And this is the message that I got. We have a baby and need to be able to wash clothes. I need an electrician to help right away. So long story short, even though the house was still under warranty, I had to hire an outside electrician to replace the circuit breaker. Now the next day, the tenant messaged again. Apparently, there were too many bugs inside and outside the house. And in all honesty, he wasn't wrong. The house is in a newer area and there were bugs, at least on the outside. So I had to send pest control. 2 weeks later, and I promise this is the last one, the GE oven, which was also under warranty, stopped working. Apparently there was a huge noise and the display went out. I made sure the oven was replaced under warranty, but still it was a huge hassle to be the middleman between GE and the tenant. This obviously is an extreme example, but can you imagine a brand new house with this many issues within the first month of purchase? The thing is, you only see the glamorous side of real estate on social media. People driving in supercars and living in mansions from the money they made in real estate. But it's not as glamorous or easy. And you have to put in a lot of time. These are 5 truths about real estate and rental real estate in particular. Whenever something goes wrong, even slightly, expect a call or a text message from the tenant right away. And trust me, the tenant will not sit easy until the issue is completely resolved. For the most part, looking at it from the tenant's point of view, they are right when they need something replaced. But sometimes they can be quite irrational. And if it's an emergency, you can expect a call at 2 a.m. in the morning. Luckily, this hasn't happened to me yet. And I just realized that I put my phone on silent whenever I sleep. I probably need to change that. Also, if you plan on going on a vacation, depending on how many tenants you have, you may have to make arrangements for someone else to be on call. Remember at the start of the video when I said that the circuit breaker went out? It literally was a very simple swap from a bad circuit breaker to a good circuit breaker. But since I had no experience in this department, I did not want to get involved at all. The circuit breaker itself was only $70, but I ended up paying an outside company about $420 to replace the circuit breaker. So you can imagine how much money you can save if you learn to do these small things yourself. Unless you hire a management service company to handle your property, you are responsible for the repairs and renovations. If there's a conflict between you and the tenant, the state laws, for the most part, favor tenants over homeowners. And depending on your state, you're not even allowed to set foot in your house without giving the tenant at least a few days' notice. Plus, if there's a situation where you have to evict the tenant, even for a valid reason, you have to give the tenant at least 30 days' notice. And if the case goes to the court, the judge may rule in favor of the tenant, where you have to give them additional time to leave the house. Evictions are not pretty and they use up a lot of time and resources. Then, depending on your state, you cannot increase the rent more than a certain percentage, even if you're losing money on the property. So, before you jump into real estate investing, you have to make sure that local laws are friendly to real estate investors. Also, tenants love to sue landlords. When in need of quick money, the first rule is to go after the deepest pockets. That said, to limit your risk, make sure you do some research on asset protection. Just because you paid all your bills on time, don't just assume that your tenant will pay all the bills on time as well. In some neighborhoods, late rents are the rule rather than the exception. So ask yourself, are you the type of person who would feel comfortable confronting a tenant if they're late on their payment? Luckily, I've never been in this situation yet, but I know many people who have, and they've told me how costly and time-consuming eviction notices are. Some evictions have taken as long as 7 months to get a ruling from the court, and all this time, the landlord has been stuck paying mortgage, home insurance, taxes, and whatnot. Know your taxes inside out. Taxes are a complicated topic to understand, but your taxes get 5 times more complicated if you own a rental property or a second home. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that income from your rental property could put you in a higher tax bracket. If you do your own taxes, it could be a nightmare if you own rental real estate. And there is also a chance of making mistakes. On the other hand, if you pay an accountant, expect your bill to go up because it will take them longer to do your returns. Personally, I would rather pay an accountant rather than do my own taxes and risk making mistakes. Now, a lot of these problems can be avoided if you hire a professional property management company to do all this work for you. And this is when rental real estate truly becomes passive. But here's the catch. To do that, you'll be looking at 8 to 12% of rent in monthly fees, plus a one-time fee each time the unit is rented out. So, if you, as a landlord, do not have a lot of cash flow, hiring a property management company can turn a decent investment into a negative cash flow investment. And that is why this option is not always suitable for most investors. If you do an internet search on how to get rich quick with real estate, you will probably get millions of results in less than a second. But sorry to break it to you, it's not as easy or glamorous. I got my first property, which was brand new, thinking it would be a walk in the park, and boy, was I wrong. It is possible to make a lot of money in real estate, but it does not happen overnight.